Hey there, welcome to 2E ADHD. I'm Joel, and this is where I talk about how I navigate life between the constraints and hope in my life. It's been almost a month since my last video. I have been very busy with life. And in the last video, I ended on a very difficult note because things were very difficult at the time and things could not be more different now. After I ended up having my crash, after 2 therapy sessions, my therapist asked me, so separation anxiety, in my case it was abandonment anxiety, comes from somewhere. She said the fact that your wife was out of touch for 48 hours didn't cause it. It triggered a memory. And she said, so when were you ever in real danger of losing Sue? And immediately my mind jumped back 20 years to when a doctor told me that if my wife woke up, that I should say goodbye because she wasn't going to live through the night. I'm not going to go into all the details. The last time I told this story, it took well over an hour. But she had some severe health problems that after 10 days in the hospital, they told me she wasn't going to live. Obviously she did, but it was a long, hard ride. She was in the hospital for 4 months. She spent a year recovering to the point that she could take care of herself. And 6 more years reaching the point that we both felt she was truly recovered physically, and more years till she was recovered emotionally. During all of that, she grieved for the losses of her hair, her mental acuity, our physical relationship. We'd been married less than 2 years at the time, and we're still very much newlyweds. But she grieved for these things as she lay in a hospital bed for 4 months and lived in a chair in the living room for another year after that. And we realized that I had never grieved for those things. My life changed overnight. The threat of losing the person that I had walked out of my previous life to be with, and everything in my life was upended. But our goal at that point, our life was consumed with her being alive. And so I spent 20 years with unresolved, soul-crushing grief and a 20-year struggle for peace and safety. And realizing that flipped a switch in my head. Everything changed. And when Sue realized that not only had I never grieved for all those things in all those years because of how all-consuming it was for her mentally and emotionally, she had never thought about that entire experience from my perspective. And so she asked me to write down, as far as I could remember, what it was like for me. So I wrote 13 pages of my experience back then. And I shared that with her. And we cried a lot and talked a lot. I felt peace for the first time in my life. And Sue felt safe and cared for like she did when we were first married. We just reset emotionally to the day before she got sick. and everything felt fresh and new. Later that week, I asked her to go run some errands, leave the house, go, leave me alone. And I sat here in my chair. I opened the blinds behind me over there and sat and looked out the window at the trees in the backyard and thought about Sue. I was really trying to trigger something emotional, some kind of panic about missing her. And I wouldn't look at a clock. I didn't want to know she was going to be home in about half an hour. I just wanted to sit and not know and think about her. And after about 15 minutes, she came home because it had been 35 minutes. And all I had was pleasant, peaceful thoughts of what was she doing right now on her errands. Since then, I have twice had tiny, momentary twinges of feeling away from her. But it's essentially gone. The separation anxiety is gone. We have felt like newlyweds. And it's been, well, that would be 24 days since my last video, and this happened within days after that. And we just feel like a couple of kids falling in love for the first time. When she leaves the house, I feel fine. And she feels good. She feels safe and protected and cared for. And because of that, then I feel the same. And the emotional bond that we used to feel is back. My 20-year struggle with unresolved grief was a little shadow between us that didn't let me feel close to her, which didn't let her feel close to me. And it is absolute bliss. 2 weeks ago, she went back for another visit. No radio silence this time, but that trip had already been planned. She shortened it by 1 day because I was still a little nervous, and she was nervous about leaving me. But she had promised her friend up in the mountains that she would come and help her with some projects. And so she went. She left on Thursday morning, and we talked 3 times that day and talked more the next day. And she came home Saturday, and I missed her. She missed me, but I was fine. And everything feels so completely different. Everything went well, and for more than 3 weeks, it's hard to describe how things have changed. I had a therapist in Wisconsin. That's a theme in the last 20 years, therapists. And he, knowing I am a musician, he said at the time, "You strum a guitar and it sounds really bad. Does that mean every single string is way out of tune?" He said, "No, generally you check all 6 strings and one of them is off a little bit. But that tiny bit of discord makes everything feel bad." But he said, finding which string it is the trick. But then tuning that string so that everything is in harmony, that's easy. And he said he's always surprised how when someone realizes what's been bothering them, how quickly it can be resolved if that's really what they want. And I have accepted that this is real, this is how I feel now, but we are both still astounded at how our marriage, our emotional intimacy changed overnight. And I have realized over these 3 weeks that this channel had changed from talking about twice exceptional autism, ADHD, into me coping with the emotional struggles that had been created by what I thought was those things and what turns out to be more, that unresolved grief. And I don't know if I will feel the need to do more videos here. It was never my intention to grow an audience and become a content creator. My goal was to talk through things that were on my mind. And at this point, I have achieved a level of peace and emotional stability and comfort with my physical health, comfort in my marriage and my life, that doesn't feel like I need to talk through anything, because it is all peace and joy. So if I'm back, you'll be the first ones to know about it. Whether that happens or not, I love you, and I'm glad you were here with me.